Hi, and welcome to People You Should Know. I'm your host, Buddy Sampson. You know, in Hollywood these days, successful actors and actresses have the ability to not only excel in front of the camera, but to excel behind the camera as well. My guests on this show are actresses that excel behind the camera as well as in front of the camera. Later in the show, we're going to have Susan Bacoyanis, and Susan is an exceptional and stunning actress and writer. But first, we have in the studio Lauren Marie Pena, and she did a film. Well, before we go on, let's show the clip of her in the film Triangle Boulevard.
No. I just volunteered you to babysit. Wait, are we going out? Just do it. They pay really good. I babysat for them before.
Don't get lost.
Aren't you a pretty little thing?
She's a darling, isn't she?
Oh, where are you? Are you still picking me up?
I apologize. Actually, that first clip was from her film Easy Money. And without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce Lauren Marie Pena. Lauren, thanks a lot for joining us on People You Should Know.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you. First of all, that film Easy Money, what was it like to actually create a short film like that and go into the whole process?
It was really interesting. It was sort of based on one of my experiences as a babysitter in Miami, where I grew up. And so I took that experience and manipulated it to make it a psychological thriller. So I was with the project from beginning to end. I wrote it, I shot it, and I also edited it. And so that is like my baby. I'm also developing that into a feature film. But it was a lot of fun. It was sort of my first big film that was longer than like 2 minutes. It's a 15-minute film, so I learned a lot. It was really intense doing, but it was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, and you actually not only acted, well, you didn't act in the film, you actually produced the film. What
Yes.
was the whole production process like?
Really kind of hectic, because I did a lot of it myself. I was like, I had some help set decorating, but since it was all my vision, you know, I would be right behind the set decorator when she was buying everything, and then also next to my DP as well, making sure he got everything that I wanted and the vision that I wanted to create. And I did a lot of pre-production with the actors. We had a lot of rehearsals, a lot of time to improv as well. So when we got on the set, it was sort of, you know, get there and we were ready to shoot right away. And they knew, everyone had a clear understanding exactly what I wanted.
And speaking of having a clear understanding, how did you actually come up with the concept of Easy Money, about a babysitter that finds herself in a strange situation? How did you come up with that concept?
It was actually, I got volunteered to babysit through one of my friends. I used to babysit all the time in Miami, and it was for a kind of strange offbeat couple, you know, typical South Beach couple in Miami, very rich. And so I twisted that and I made it, you know, what if it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole as she discovers different things throughout the night, you know. Furthermore, she goes on to discover she's being videotaped. So I put, you know, a little voyeuristic feel into it as well, and it turned out to be a coming-of-age story where Jaylyn, the main character, has to determine if risking her own innocence is worth the easy money.
And it was a brilliant film, by the way. I laughed a lot. I said, wow, you know, what a talent. And speaking of talent, I understand you actually garnered a couple awards.
Yes.
You were recognized at the Cinema City International Film Festival. And tell us about receiving that award, and what does the other awards you received mean to you?
Winning the award for Easy Money at Cinema City was great because I was recognized for all the hard work I put into it. And so that, you know, gave me a lot of credibility as well to do a lot of things that I would like to do now, you know, just by saying, you know, my short film won a festival. And the other award I won was for projectbreakout.com, which they hosted a contest to find the next breakout filmmaker. And I submitted Easy Money, and Easy Money made it into the finals. Then I had to submit another film in which I shot a film called Christmas Confessional, and I won. So I was titled the next breakout filmmaker, and they flew me to London for a week, and I got to work with Academy Award winner David Parfit on their set. It was they're shooting a Burt Reynolds film called A Bunch of Amateurs, so I also got to work with him, and I learned a lot. There's a lot of things that you learn on the set that people can't teach you in film school.
And speaking of that, you grew up in Miami.
Yes.
And you evidently had an experience with a brilliant director. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I was a freshman in college in Miami, and one of my friends got a job on Miami Vice as a casting assistant, and I told him, like, you have to get me on there, I love this stuff, because I had come out to LA trying to be an actress, my junior year, but my parents were sort of, have fun, you're not going there again. So working on Miami Vice with Michael Mann really made me realize I want to be behind the camera. I'd always been a writer, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a director or not. But just by watching Michael Mann work and getting to sort of pick his brain at certain things, it was a very exceptional experience, and seeing how he worked with the actors, Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx, which are both very intelligent actors. So that's what really inspired me, and I was ready to get up and go to LA.
You actually also worked with Eddie Mariano on a short film called Triangle Boulevard.
Triangle Boulevard.
Do we happen to have the first clip on the DVD of Triangle Boulevard? If we could we take a look at it?
Sure.
Let me buy you a drink. What do you say? Well,
what?
no, not now. Not right now. Listen up! Here's how it works.
You like cheating on me with this slut?
Lauren, that was excellent work. Which do you like better? Do you like being in front of the camera better or working behind the camera? Which of the two you like?
Behind the camera.
Really?
I love being behind the camera. It's just sort of, it's less pressure for me, but at the same time a lot more pressure, which I think that's why I like it. I love being under pressure, and I love the rush of filmmaking and not sleeping at night, and and the final product is so much better, just seeing your vision on the big screen or, come to life. So, and I think it's a lot more artistic for me. I just enjoy it a lot more.
Now, your dad, he's obviously one of your biggest supporters. How influential has he and your parents been to your career?
My parents just, I had to prove to them this was what I really wanted to do, and so I had to work for their support, and now they support me 150%, more than that. And it's great to have them supporting me so much, because it drives me to work a lot harder, and it really motivates me. So they've been a driving force, and they've been my #1 fans, and it's because of them, I work hard every day, because I really want to prove to them, this is what I want to do. And they know, now I've been out here for about 2 years in LA. Now they realize, this is what she wants, and this is what she's always wanted. So.
Well, I mean, like most of the entertainment artists, it's a passion that you have for wanting to do it. Now, what's the best thing about working in our industry? Our industry can be a little challenging at times.
I'd say getting to meet all the people and networking. I think networking is a big part of this industry, as everyone knows. So it's kind of cool meeting different people and, feeling them out, seeing, are they serious, are they not, and just about their projects, and collaborating with people, you know, getting together, a group of really driven people and who just want to make movies, and then making a movie, you know, even if we just come up with it and then we just go shoot it on the weekend. Just being able to be surrounded with a lot of people who have the same passion.
And it's a brilliant industry. I've met some great people in this industry like yourself. Now, you mentioned Michael Mann earlier. Who are some of the people, directors, actors, and industry people that you like to work with in the future?
Definitely Tina Fey. I think she's a brilliant writer and actress, and she's a woman, so I really look up to her. Who else? I like the director Wes Anderson. I'd like to work with him. And actresses, I would like to work with Natalie Portman. I think she's brilliant. I love all the roles she does and everything she stands for. So I'd say those three are my top three.
Now, I asked this question a lot during my interviews. If you had a time machine and were able to go in the past or the future in terms of the movie industry, which would you choose and why?
I would go to the 1960s so I can be on the set of any of Audrey Hepburn's films. Yeah, I look up, she's one of my idols. I love her. I think she was such a great person, and so definitely I love the classical movie, you know, golden era times, and those are my favorite movies that I like to watch.
Really? Now, what are your plans for the future? Do you have anything in development? I understand you're working on a reality series.
Yes, we are in development for the reality series. It's with Suzanne De Laurentiis, and it's called Red Carpet Junkies. It's a working title, so we're doing that. And I'm also shooting my first feature in August.
Oh, okay.
So I'm finishing the script right now and about to go into pre-production very soon.
Now, are you at liberty to mention anything about the film in August?
I could say that it's the working title right now is called Vanity. It's a psychological thriller.
Oh, okay.
And kind of about a psycho girl. I can't go too in depth, but
okay.
that kind of explains it.
Now, will you be acting in that, or helping to produce it?
No, just writing, directing, and producing.
Oh, very good, very good. Now, you're a young filmmaker. If you had to be on the other side advising young people on what to do to be a filmmaker, what would that advice be? It
would be to, if they want to direct, then direct. You know, if it's not hard to get, you know, a little handy cam and go out and shoot even a little commercial. I think nowadays it's so easy to shoot things with all the technology that we have, and you know, there's editing softwares that come on a lot of computers. So just having something to show for what you want to do, and then, you know, the more films you direct, the more you learn, you know, even if they're just 30-second little things. And if they want to write, then write.
Oh, okay.
You know, just do it and gather up your things, and, you know, probably someday you'll meet someone and you can show them everything you have.
I know performing myself, I've been on a number of stages over the years, and there's always some like mishap that happens, some embarrassing thing that you would just rather forget about. What is your experience? What is your most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you?
Probably, I don't know. Probably we were shooting a scene, actually, for one of Eddie Mariano's other short films, and it involved me riding a horse, and I fell off the horse in front of everyone, and I don't know, that was just kind of embarrassing, but I can't think of anything, you know, cooler than that, just in front of the whole crew and whatnot. But
you know, that means you're just really good at what you do. Now, in terms of your future, what are some projects that you'd like to work on that you haven't done yet?
I would like to work on a TV series. I'm developing a pilot for another one of the short films I've directed. So I would like to work in TV and seeing how it is, or maybe even being a series writer for a television show. I'd like to do everything I can in this business, basically.
Well, Lauren, you're a terrific producer, writer, and actress, and God, I can't believe like the time just goes so quickly on this show. Someday we would love to have you come back and join us on People You Should Know. It's a pleasure. ladies and gentlemen, Lauren Marie Pena. And we'll be right back with Susan Bacoyanis. Stay tuned.
I have a real pet peeve about oral hygiene. Not many people think about it for their pets. Our best friends, the ones who never complain no matter what, are dogs and cats. Well, they'll still purr or greet you with a wagging tail, but inside their mouths they could be in trouble. You wouldn't think of neglecting your children's health, yet every day pets suffer needlessly because people just don't think about brushing their dog and cat's teeth. Well, now's the time to think about it before gum disease, chronic pain, tooth loss, even life-threatening ailments affect your pet. 85% of adult cats and dogs have some form of periodontal disease. And remember, bad breath is not normal. It can signal an infection or a problem. Prevention is easy with daily brushing. Make sure pets have regular checkups and cleaning by a veterinarian. Then you'll have a happy, healthy pet. Call your veterinarian today. Protect your pet's teeth for a healthier tomorrow. Your pet will thank you. You're welcome.
Hi, welcome back to People You Should Know. I'm your host, Buddy Sampson. We have another talented actress, and this actress has also another talent. She's also a terrific writer as well. Welcome to People You Should Know, Susan Bacoyanis. Susan.
Hi, Buddy. Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us on People You Should Know.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure's all mine. Now, I understand that lately you actually auditioned for a great series, a big soap. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can tell you a little bit, yes. It was The Bold and the Beautiful, and I sent in my reel, and fingers crossed, yes, I would love the part. So would be playing against, or next to Patrick Duffy.
Wow,
and
not bad.
I remember him from Dallas and other things, a great star. So that would be a lot of fun, yes.
It would be amazing. I can listen to you talk all day. Your accent is just charming.
Oh, it's the British accent, hey? Giveaway.
Now, you grew up in London.
I
mean, not in London. I'm sorry, in England.
Okay.
Could you tell us about growing up in England? What was that like?
Well, it's very proper. It's not at all like the States. We're very formal. Most of my life was spent in England. My formative years were in South Africa. And then my mother made a race home at 8 months pregnant to have me born in England.
Wow.
So I would have a British passport, and I was whisked back to Africa at 6 weeks old. So I was there for a few years. Growing up in England, yes, very good education, lots of beautiful countryside. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by farms. So all of that was a lot of fun. I was an only child, and I think probably that's why I write. It's because it fed the imagination. I spent a lot of time on my own, and I think it's a good thing, you know.
I think it's a wonderful thing, and I want to actually address the whole writing thing in a little bit. But when did you first decide that you wanted to be an actor?
Oh, when I was very young. In fact, I think at the age of 6, and then by 8 I won some awards, and I was well away, and I was attached to the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in London, and went right the way through with them while attending an independent girls' school. So it was in my blood, definitely.
Wow! And can you tell us a little about some of the roles that you've done and some of your favorite roles?
Well, my favorite role, I think, was Arthur Miller's The Crucible, where I played Abigail Williams. Yes, and it was a lot of fun, very dramatic. You know, screaming at the witches and everything else. So that was fun, and I liked Shakespeare too, and various other things over the years. Yes.
What's your favorite Shakespearean play?
I think probably Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, I think, is a great role for women. There aren't many roles for women in Shakespeare that are really fabulous, and that role is, you know.
Now, when I was in high school, they tortured us with Shakespeare, so I know pretty much most of Shakespearean, all the Shakespearean plays. If you wanted to do a Shakespearean play that featured women, and which one of the plays would you like to do besides Macbeth?
Well, if I was 20 years younger, I'd play Romeo and Juliet. I played Juliet, of course, in Romeo and Juliet. But I think the thing I would have liked to have done is played opposite Laurence Olivier, because he was the most fantastic Shakespearean actor.
He was amazing. And speaking Laurence Olivier and actors of the past and personalities of the past, if you could sit down at the dinner table with any person, any icon, anybody that you've always admired, who would that person be and why?
Do you mean living or if they're
Actually living or
okay?
Or,
I think to start with
or-
Michael Caine.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Caine is a Brit, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and a few years ago I happened to see a masterclass on television,
Mm-hmm.
and he was so fantastic. He was teaching students how to work with the camera. And it's not till he got up and did it on television that you would actually see how easy he made it look.
Mm-hmm.
And from that time onwards, I really studied his books and looked at what he was doing and saw him in a entirely different light. I think he's fabulous, yes, and he works extremely hard. So I would love to sit down and talk to him, yes, it'd be a lot of fun.
Any others? You can
Yes,
think of?
I think Judi Dench. Again, I'm
Judi
afraid they're
Dench.
Brits. She's wonderful. She has a great personality, but she's a perfectionist, and she's now a dame, I believe. So she's Dame Judi Dench. And Helen Mirren, who played the Queen
Oh
in
yeah,
the
of
latest
course.
film.
She's
Yes.
always a person that I wanted to interview at some point.
Yes, she's a lot of fun. Very good, well crafted. Yes, two fabulous actors. Yes.
Amazing actors. I want to talk about your writing.
Okay.
You know, you're not only a successful actress, but you're a terrific writer as well. Tell us about some of the books and some of the things that you've worked on as a writer.
Well, my books are psychological thrillers and comedy, which sounds an odd.
I'll say.
Set.
Talking about different ends of
I
the
know.
rainbow. or
But
the
I see
spectrum.
there's a lot of comedy in life, and so black comedy I think is fun and great to write about. I started writing about 15 years ago. When I had my children, I always take a notepad with me, and I would
And
sit.
how old are your children?
I'm not going to tell you. You know,
I'll get it out of your
I
story.
have an answer to that. When anyone asks me how old my children are, I say 12. They're all 12. And I have 3 daughters. So.
Okay, no, I'm just kidding
But
you.
I
with that.
when I used to take them out or go swimming or whatever, or the playground, I'd be watching them, and I would have my notepads, and I'd be scribbling away at the same time, and then I'd go home and type it all up on the computer or whatever. So basically, if the ideas are flowing, and they flow at the odd moments, so if you're always prepared, that's really how I did it, and then I would go and put them together. And plays and screenplays and books, yes.
Wow, I mean that's pretty amazing stuff. Any topics that you'd like to touch on in the writing realm rather in the future that you haven't touched on? You mentioned psychological thrillers and comedies. Would you like to do any other sorts of writing?
Well, I have some plays. I feel very strongly about starting an organization to help people who suffer from abuse, verbal and emotional abuse. And I have some plays. So in the future, I do plan to form a foundation along with the plays. And I hope the writing then will stand, for this organization and for these people who suffer greatly. So that is something, yes, probably a year away. So if you ask me back again, Buddy, I'll come and talk about it next time.
I would love to have you back again.
Thank you.
You will be
That
back
would be-
again, there's
that would
no
be
doubt.
fun.
What do you think about our industry here, first of all? Isn't it a special industry? Or why did you choose Los Angeles in terms of doing your craft?
Well, I wanted to go into film. I had done theatre years ago, and it was the best way to learn film. So I went back to film school, which was a lot of fun, and learnt the techniques of working to camera. And it helped me also with the writing. The main purpose really was to help with the writing, but returning to acting again was such fun, and learning film was interesting. And Los Angeles is the centre for this. So yes, and the weather's so good, come on.
Oh, it's amazing
I can't
here.
stay in England when there's sunshine here. It's much more exciting. And I'm right in the middle of it now, so it's been a lot of fun, yes.
Now, I know that there are certain people that I'd be in awe of that I have met, or like in my case, Jennifer Gardner, Ben doesn't know it, but he's going to be kicked to the curb. But who are people that you've worked with or perhaps seen or been around that you were just in awe of?
You mean actresses or actors? And
People, actresses,
anybody?
anyone.
Well, I think I would love to work with Clint Eastwood as a director. I do admire him. I saw a movie he made called Bridges of Madison years ago, and apparently he had Meryl Streep come down for the part, and they acted in this together without any rehearsal whatsoever. And they were perfect, and they captured the instant moment. And working with him would be such an experience. That would be, I'd love to do that, yes.
He's a
Yes.
wonderful guy. He's
is.
really tall, and he also plays a couple instruments as well.
Yes, I believe he's quite a musician, like yourself, of course.
Oh, no, flattery gets you
You should have a
everywhere.
jam session with him, you know.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Yes.
And, you know, one of these days, I'm
Good.
hoping that people will actually see that I can do music besides being a person that asks stupid questions all the time.
Well, that would be fabulous. Yes, you must give us you know, must play to us, and that would be good, or play in the introduction, yes.
Well, one of these days I will. But what are some of the parts and roles that you would like to do in the future? We talked about writing, but
Well,
what
one
about-
particular one is I loved the play The Graduate, and it was on Broadway, I think, recently, and I would love to play Mrs. Robinson. I think it's a perfect role for a woman my age, and Anne Bancroft played it so beautifully years ago. I'm not sure I could follow her, but I'd love to try.
It's a shame
Yes.
I'm not about 20 years younger. I would love to be in that film. So The Graduate, I mean, and
Yes.
it was actually a groundbreaking film during that time.
I think so, yes. Wonderful dialogue, yes.
Any other roles that we'd like to do in the future?
I think probably, I think I'll stay with the soaps, and I'm going to do a reality show.
Really?
Yes.
Which reality show?
Well, actually, your last guest was just talking about this.
Oh,
It has a
okay.
working title, The Red Carpet Junkies, and we're going to do this together. And I'm going to play the very proper British woman who is sort of keeping the girls up with their etiquette, and that should be interesting.
Wow, yeah, that should be interesting, and that's a Suzanne De Laurentiis
It
production,
is,
I
yes,
believe.
that's right.
And
yes.
I understand she's a good friend of yours as
She
well.
is a wonderful friend. She's a great girl, and she's also a fabulous producer. And I think probably we're going to develop one of my screenplays together, which should also be interesting in the next few months. Yes, my latest one.
Well, again, the time just goes so quickly.
Okay.
I really appreciate you coming
Thank
and joining
you.
us
Thank
on
you for
People
having
You
me.
Should
It's been
Know.
fun.
It's a pleasure. And if you'd like to reach us or reach any of the guests in the show, please feel free to email us, rather easy for me to say, at peopleyousshouldknow@hotmail.com. On behalf of Susan Bacoyanis and Lauren Marie Pena, I'd like to say these are people you should know. Thanks a lot, and join us next time. Bye-bye.